Imagine this. You're sitting quietly, maybe listening to this video, maybe thinking about what's being said. But beyond the words, beyond your ears hearing sound, there's something deeper happening. You're aware of the experience. You're not just a machine processing signals, you're conscious of being you. Now here's the question. Why? Why do you have this inner experience? Why is there a you behind your thoughts? This is what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. It's not about how the brain works in a mechanical sense. We know parts of that. It's about why any of it feels like something from the inside. If we were just machines made of atoms, like atheism often suggests, why isn't life just an empty process? Why is there an inner world, a place where you feel pain, love, joy, sadness? No MRI scanner has ever found a thought. No microscope has ever found a self. We can see neurons firing, but we still can't explain why you feel anything at all. This is where atheism faces one of its biggest challenges. If everything is just random material processes, why should anything be conscious in the first place? Atheist philosophers have tried to answer this, but so far, none of their answers really work. Some say consciousness is just an illusion, but that's like saying your pain when you touch fire is fake, or that the love you feel for someone is just chemicals pretending to care. It doesn't feel like an illusion. It feels realer than real. Others say consciousness is just a byproduct of evolution. But think about that for a second. Why would natural selection, concerned only with survival, create inner experiences? Why wouldn't it just build unconscious robots that eat, sleep, and reproduce? In fact, if life is only about survival, consciousness is a mystery. Why do we dream? Why do we feel awe when we look at the stars? Why do we experience guilt when no one is watching? These are not things you'd expect from a purely material machine. And this is where belief in something beyond the physical starts to make sense. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but let's be honest, theism leaves us stuck. If you remove any higher purpose from life, consciousness becomes a glitch in the system, a mistake nature somehow made. But what if it's not a mistake? What if consciousness is a clue? Think about it. Every religion has, in some form, spoken about the soul, the self, the unseen part of human life. Even in ancient texts, people understood that there's something beyond flesh and bone. They called it the spirit, the Ra, the essence. Modern science hasn't disproved this, it's just ignored it because it can't measure it. But consciousness won't go away just because it's hard to study. In fact, the more we learn about the brain, the more we realize how little we actually know. Some of the world's top scientists, like David Chalmers and Thomas Nagel, admit that materialism, the belief that everything is just matter, has no explanation for consciousness. It's not just a small gap in knowledge, it's a giant hole in the story. And if you're an atheist, this should make you think. If science can't explain why you are aware of yourself, maybe the problem isn't just science. It's the whole idea that life is purely physical. Let's take this further. Have you ever had a moment where you felt something greater than yourself? Like standing at the edge of the ocean, looking at the stars, or watching someone you love sleep peacefully. Those moments of awe, that deep emotional awareness, are not evolutionary tricks. They're signals. They remind you that life is more than atoms bumping into each other. Even love, sacrifice, and moral conscience point to something higher. Because if we're just survival machines, why would anyone die for someone else? Why would people risk their lives for justice or truth? These are signs of something beyond survival. They are signs of meaning. And meaning can't come from randomness. It has to come from purpose. When you feel pain, when you feel joy, when you wonder about life, you're experiencing the very thing that atheism struggles to explain. Some argue, well, maybe one day science will figure it out. But consciousness isn't just another scientific problem. It's the foundation of experience itself. We don't observe consciousness like an object. We are consciousness. That's why the question is so deep. You can't step outside of yourself to study the thing you are. And here's the real point. Maybe the reason we can't find a material explanation for consciousness is because consciousness isn't just material. Maybe it's something placed in us for a reason. Maybe it's connected to the unseen, the spiritual, the eternal. Maybe it's a hint that life has meaning beyond what we can measure. This is where belief in the divine starts to make sense, not as a crutch, but as the most reasonable explanation for why you exist as a self-aware being. In the Islamic worldview, this is called the fitra, the natural inner knowledge that there is more to life than just survival. It's why people in every culture across all of history have believed in something higher. Not because they were foolish, but because they were aware of their own inner reality. Atheism can't explain consciousness because consciousness points directly to something beyond the material. So, the next time someone tells you that belief in God is outdated, ask them this: if life is just atoms in motion, why are you aware of it? Why do you care about love, beauty, justice, and truth? These questions don't go away. They're built into you. And maybe, just maybe, they're there to lead you toward something bigger. Thanks for watching.